The positive injury updates keep rolling in for the Miami Hurricanes. Could this finally be the week that we see tight end one Elijah Arroyo make his season debut?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno, your host, University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. Thank you to the everydayers. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So as mentioned, continue to get some positive injury news. We found out yesterday morning Cam Kinchens is ready to roll, in Mario Cristobal's words. And then in the afternoon, the media pressed Mario a little bit on some of the injury issues and nagging injuries. And Coach Cristobal was asked about Elijah Arroyo, tight end who tore his ACL early last season. I believe had a hamstring issue early on in fall camp. That's why we haven't seen Arroyo yet. And Mario Cristobal said you might be able to see Elijah this weekend. So, and also Cristobal did add TreVonte Citizen is not far behind. So I don't think this could be the week for TreVonte, but that one could be on the horizon. No better time than the present to talk with our good pal, the truth teller, Bruce Warner. Bruce,
great,
we've been talking about Arroyo, his potential debut, since the season started. You must be feeling pretty good today.
Well, I've been talking about him for the last 5 or 6 months. Look, if he gets in for a half a dozen plays, I think they want him to get his feet wet. They don't want it to get wet next week at North Carolina. So we'll see. He may block a few plays. They may throw to him a few times, but he needs to get in. He needs some work. That's a bad injury he had.
Yeah. Here's what offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson, who also spoke yesterday, said about Arroyo's potential debut, whether it happens Saturday or down the road. He says, I'm looking forward to it. I love that kid's demeanor, he said. Obviously a big-bodied, talented kid. I'm eager to get him on the field. I think he can add an element in a lot of different ways to our offense. It's good to have a handful of those big guys. We've gone in several games where we've had a couple of more personnel groupings because we don't have the numbers there that we should. He adds a number there that always allows you to get into some heavy stuff where you're not looking at it on a sheet of paper, where if one guy goes down, we can't run these 6 plays. He brings some depth. That would be very welcomed. Now, Bruce, I still believe that when and if completely healthy, Elijah Arroyo is probably the best tight end on the roster this year, and Riley Williams could be even by the end of the year because he's so good. But it's fair to say, like, Elijah Arroyo hasn't really broken out yet as a Miami Hurricane. Like, he played sparingly 2021 as a true freshman, preserved his red shirt. He only played in the first couple of games last year before tearing the ACL.
Yep.
So I know the potential there is through the roof, but as a Hurricane, he only actually has 152 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. So we haven't actually seen the Elijah Arroyo breakout just yet.
Yeah, we're just looking at what his potential is.
Yeah.
But we saw glimpses of it, and that means going down the field and running by guys. He kind of reminds me a little of Kellen Winslow. Tall kid, he can go deep, great hands, but the injuries. So I don't know what the effect of it is going to be on mentally. And that's what Mario wants to see. He does want to see it. He's going, I don't care what he says, he's playing on Saturday for sure.
Okay.
Now I know I don't think Messidor is coming back yet. I was hoping he'd come back this week. He still might. I think another guy they want to see him get his feet wet again is Messidor.
Yeah.
But if not, he will be full go, I believe, next week. He'll probably get in 15 to 20, maybe 25 snaps because they need him in that game. And I think Dean's coming back this week. Kelly will be here again. And we already talked about Cam. Cam's coming back, and that ought to help. Look, they missed him, obviously, his leadership. They did give up some big chunk yards in these last couple of games, especially in the second half. But like you said, we want everybody together, at least starting next week, because that's a huge game. And kind of leads into what I was saying before. people ask about a trap game. This is a trap game
Yeah.
for more reasons than North Carolina is next. Because I mentioned to you, this team is notoriously bad. And all the guys out there to think, here's Mr. Negative. Check it out. After bye weeks, we're horrible. For the years, even when we were great, we had these just it's like a walk in the park kind of games, and we got in trouble. It's a trap game because this is an ACC game, and you just can't be looking ahead. This is a young team, right, Alex? They're very young.
Yeah.
So, and they've had lapses in games. I don't expect us to lose, but I think maybe 25 points, 24, something like that. I don't really care. Just beat these guys and stay healthy, because next week's where I'm going.
Well, and to what you're talking about with the trap game, it doesn't help that mentality when Georgia Tech just got beaten soundly at home by Bowling Green last week. So it's like, I know some Miami fans look at that. You're like, yes, these guys lost to Bowling Green. I'm like, no, they lost to Bowling Green because again, Miami's going to win the game, I believe, Bruce, and I think that a lot of what you're talking about, the history is correct on coming off of bye weeks and trap games. I think the mentality for this team is different. I don't think they're going to fall into that trap, but I think I would have probably preferred if Georgia Tech had won a close game at home against Bowling Green instead of suffered the upset, because that prompted Georgia Tech to make a defensive coordinator change, which that adds uncertainty. That doesn't make it easier to game plan for. That only makes it harder, and because you don't know what you're going to get. So Andrew Thacker had been their defensive play caller since 2019. Their defense is so bad, Georgia Tech's. They're 128th in the country against the run. They're in the hundreds in total defense. So they didn't even fire him, which is I think that's even more demoralizing. They demoted him and they promoted Kevin Scherer to become the defensive play caller. And Shannon Dawson made a very sound point yesterday. They're not going to make that change if they want to keep doing the same stuff on defense. Obviously, they're going to give Miami some different defensive looks, and we don't know what those are because, we can't really study what Kevin Scherer is going to do.
They'll probably run it down their throat then.
Yeah.
Miami's probably going to run it down their throat. Let's see if they could stop the run. If they can't, they could play action all day long. So I don't think he's that worried about it. I don't think he is. Look, Miami's got a lot of plays they haven't even thrown out yet. So they're not going to show too much, but they will next week. That's for sure. Listen, I just don't like these kind of games where we're expected to win. Look what we've gone through these last 8, 10, 15 years. Look at last year, Middle Tennessee State. And I would assume Georgia Tech's better than that. Because they do have 2 wins this year. But
they got a good offense. Like Georgia Tech, their defense, I could talk all day about how bad their defense is. Their offense is pretty good, and the former Texas A&M quarterback, Haynes King, who's playing there now, is off to a good start. He's got 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's playing well.
Yeah, he's got experience. He can throw the ball, and the past their quarterbacks basically just ran the ball. I'm not worried about winning the game, but you're right. I think Mario has got into these kids' heads. We're playing the same way they did last week and the week before and the week before. Go out there and kick some ass. Let the young kids play. And I think that's what's going to happen. I don't care what Georgia Tech does on defense. Our offense is still a work in progress.
Yeah.
And you talk about players who you want to see when we get to that.
Yeah.
But I like to see Chris Johnson in the flat catching. He's run 2 or 3 times where he just takes off around the edge. I mean, he's got blazing speed, but I want to see him in the flat with the ball in his hand with a linebacker on him. I want to get
a little bit more into that because Cristobal did say yesterday that one of the things that they learned about themselves during the bye week in these practices, they were still practicing hard during the bye. He estimates around 6 to 8 peripheral players are ready to take on bigger roles and they're ready to play more. I want to talk, and Chris Johnson's a good one. I want to talk more about who that could be and who those players should be when we come back. As we like to say, we're only getting started on this episode of Locked On Canes. Folks, you're looking for those last-minute ticket deals. This should not be a frustrating experience. I know it can feel daunting, like, oh, I want to go to the game later tonight. Am I going to get a decent deal? Am I going to get ripped off? You will never get ripped off at game time. In fact, you're going to find your best deals last minute, guys. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices. You can get views from your seat. They'll show you exactly what you're going to see from where your tickets are and their best price guarantee. Guys, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area at Game Time, from sporting events, of course, concerts, comedy shows. And guys, we have to talk about the Game Time guarantee. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get their best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. All you have to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I'm smirking right now. And by the way, thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen. Because Bruce, I earlier today, I retweeted something that my colleague from Locked On Gators, Brandon Olson, sent out this tweet about, like, basically how bad Florida's offense has been. And I retweeted it just to troll him. And so then a bunch of Miami fans are retweeting my retweet. And Brandon's texting me how much he hates me because Miami fans are commenting on the tweet. But
hey, I'll bet you the Gator board is lit up like 10 Christmas trees in Washington, D.C. on Christmas Eve. Those fans are, they expect so much. Yeah. They're constantly bragging how great they are. Who have they beaten this year? They beat Piper High School. They beat, a couple of other baby schools. But they went up to Kentucky and got their asses handed to them, right?
Yeah, that was disgusting.
And Utah, they were behind in the Utah game from the first play.
Yeah, they were. And we've come to find out that Utah, great defense, but their offense, and Cam Rising still hasn't even debuted yet. Their offense is not good. He didn't play in that game against Florida either. Their offense is not so good. So here's something Cristobal said on Monday. We found ourselves 6 to 8 more players, he says, when it comes to peripheral guys really stepping up. And he mentioned some names of guys who had been playing a little bit more in practice and have gotten some time in games, like Matt McCoy, one of the top reserve offensive linemen. Obviously, we talked about Chris Johnson getting in games, and Ray Joseph has gotten in some games. Ryan Rodriguez is a guy getting more time, Cristobal said. Thomas Gore, who played really well against Temple, the defensive tackle. Jaden Wayne has seen his role increased. I'll give Bruce a name.
I don't like him covering people, though. I've seen him a few times in coverage.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nigel Kelly is a little bit better at that from that position. But I think Wayne is a stud. He's going to get there. But I'll tell you, man, going back to the offense, Bruce, another guy, because I talked about a few of these names on my Saturday episode. Another guy who I'd like to see more and has contributed on special teams, but I want to see more of him on offense, that's Brashard Smith. I think Brashard, who scored that big kickoff return touchdown against Texas A&M, obviously, it's been difficult for other receivers to get on the field because Xavier Restrepo, Colby Young, Jacoby George have played so well. But I'd like to see Brashard Smith find ways to get on the field more on offense because he's always dangerous and he's so versatile.
Yeah, but he's at the same position as Harrell, and he's at the same position as Ray, and then you still have Shamar Kirk sitting on the bench. They're all kind of similar plays.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, he's had his chances in the last year or two. Hasn't really stepped up, but he's playing much better now. I like what he's doing. He's another weapon that this team has, and you have to have it. I want to see more Isaiah Horton because he had the big touchdown. He's had a couple of catches, but I like to see him. But it's hard because the first three guys are so damn good.
Yeah, that's right.
What are you reading?
I'm still texting with the Gator guy, Brandon.
Yeah, you're done with them. The Gators. They're a national powerhouse, aren't they?
Do you think, Bruce? Are we going to see more of Tyler Harrell? Because we obviously all of us we see his 40 time 4.24. Really, really exciting. We've seen him a couple times. Kind of, I think in the Temple game, he got close to grabbing one. I don't know if the wet field had something to do with him not being quite able to get on the other end of it. But obviously with Harrell, this is a guy who took a 1-year gamble on himself to come back home to Miami. Has already played at 2 separate schools. Comes here as a grad transfer for the last ride. I hope we see more of him from this point forward.
Well, I would think that if he was that great, we would have seen him. But you know what? I thought we saw a lot of Ray, and that's kind of diminished too. So I think one of the things I've always liked, when I talked to Lamar and these other guys, they didn't like being taken out.
Yeah.
And if you got 4 really good players, back in the day, even in the early 2000s, you don't substitute these guys that often. So I think they're getting their feet wet. But as far as seeing Harold constantly, I don't think so. I don't. He could have impressed in the fall. I don't think he did. So we'll see. But keep winning, man. Just keep winning.
By the way, people who are watching the video version will notice we're both wearing all black today. We got the black hats, black shirts. Bruce, do you like the Miami Knights uniforms? I don't know if I've asked you about that, which they're finally going to put them on this weekend. They didn't wear them last year. And, I like what Cristobal said about them on Monday. So the decision to actually wear them, it sounds like it's an entire team thing, and it's not just a Mario thing, because the team leaders and the captains also have to kind of vote and decide what they wear. And Cristobal did mention, like, if this is me paraphrasing the quote, I did write it down yesterday, but if you're going to wear something new, you better make it look good out there, which means win football games. So they want to actually impress wearing those uniforms. But I like them. I mean, I wouldn't wear those every week, but I think for one night game a year, I think they look pretty badass.
Well, they do look badass. The problem that I have is I've never seen it in the nighttime. I only see these, like the hat and everything, in the daytime.
Yeah.
So I hope I like it. I hope we can see the players.
Yeah.
It's dark. We're looking at a number and something on a helmet, a decal that glows. I think it'll be cool, just as long as we win. That's all I care about.
Yeah, right.
Uniforms.
Right, because Cristobal basically said that if you don't, look good wearing those uniforms, we'll probably never see them again. Like if they go out there on Saturday and they get smoked by Georgia Tech.
Didn't we get smoked? I thought we had new uniforms against LSU in Dallas a couple of years ago.
Ooh, I can't remember what they wore.
With a very feathery look. It was almost like a plastic.
Oh, is that when they wore the feathers under Mark? Those just look terrible. I think Mark Richt wanted to get rid of the feathers just because they look so stupid, and they went to a more traditional thing. I can't. I don't remember if that was the game.
They wore those once, and I think at home they wore either all green with a green shiny helmet.
I remember those.
Killed in that game too.
That was still with Nike, but yeah, I think you're right. I think they got killed in that game.
Killed in that one too.
Yeah.
So, listen, I'm not a big fan of the orange with the white pants because that's tradition.
Yeah,
I like it, but I do like new stuff. It's cool. It brings attention to Miami.
So when we come back, an area Mario Cristobal acknowledges Miami's got to be a lot better and a lot cleaner when it comes to winning games and winning consistently in the ACC. We'll talk a little bit more about Georgia Tech and how their offense can challenge Miami's defense. You want to keep it locked right here, man. Alex Donno and Bruce Warner with you on Locked On Canes. I got my Bird Dog shorts on today, which means even though it's like 100 degrees outside, humidity through the roof, I'm always cool and my legs are always looking good. Bird Dog stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh, and they give your leg a truly sculpted look. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they fit way better. And yeah, they do. I've tried them both. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of that stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dog's fixed that issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but it stretches. So you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. And this is a big one for the South Floridians out there like myself and Bruce. Bird Dogs uses anti-stink sweat-wicking fabric that keeps your legs cool, keeps you cool and dry all day long. Bird Dogs are functional for any occasion. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege and enter promo code LockedOnCollege at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. For the everydayers, you want to take that everydayer experience to the next level? Try our exclusive SMS texting service through Subtext. Click the link in the show description below. You get text messages directly from my phone to yours. Try it free for 14 days. Then if you like it, opt in for $4.99 a month. We give you a lot of added value on there. So, Bruce, a big area that Miami needs to fix, and Mario Cristobal made no excuses for it yesterday. The Hurricanes are 113th in the country in penalties. Mario said that's an area where we're not happy with at all. Avoid the avoidable. We're disappointed in that, he said. And that's something, again, Miami got away with a ton of penalties against Texas A&M. You can't expect to consistently get away with that against the likes of the North Carolinas and the Florida States and the Clemson still on your schedule.
I think he's upset at mental mistakes.
Yeah.
Late hits, stupid things like that. Now, we see our right tackle getting called for holding several times, but I don't think he's necessarily talking about him. The kid's, he's a kid.
Yeah.
But late hits and dumb penalties and pushing somebody out of bounds when they're out of bounds or whatever, you got to cut that out. Now, I don't know how you cut out that's aggressiveness issues. That's not easy.
Right.
So in the judgment of doing it or not doing it is like a split second.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to stop that. I'd rather us be aggressive and get hit with penalties, not when we're winning by 30 points. I don't care. But if it's a close game, don't do stupid things. Focus, concentrate, things like that. I'm sure false starts bother him. Defensive offsides bothers him a lot. I thought you were going to say he still wants to work on that secondary.
Yeah.
I think he's mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I saw
Miami
linebackers get beaten. They didn't drop. They
Right.
didn't drop enough, and they got beaten in zones and things like that. He's got to clean that up.
Yeah, Miami against the run, number 1 in the country. Against the pass, 66th in the country. So there's obviously a gap between those two things. But I'm curious as to your take on this. How much of that pass coverage is just by personnel going to get dramatically better with Cam Kinchen's back? Because people may forget that the last 2 games have been played without your best player in field general in your defensive secondary, right? Because I think adding maybe won't take you from 66 to number 1, but I think adding Cam Kinchen's back into your defense from this week on is going to clean up some of those maybe communication breakdowns in the defensive backfield.
Well, maybe communication breakdowns, but the other part of the equation in stopping the pass is the pass rush. Who's missing on our team the last couple of weeks?
Right.
Messador, Dean,
Kelly. Yeah.
Kelly. You got Bain going a lot. And, maybe it's catching up to him a little bit. But the pass rush, but you got to put that pass rush in there. That's another reason why the quarterbacks are having a lot more time to throw the ball. And if they get flushed out of the pocket, they're making some plays. Even Kurt Warner's kid looked decent. Yeah. Not bad. It's a crappy team he's got. But I want to clean up the penalties. I agree. Pass rush has to be better, which will help the secondary. And obviously, no injuries. No injuries. And, of course, I think everybody wants to see the guys we mentioned before, the healthy guys and some of these young kids. Somebody's got to break out, be it Brashard or Ray or maybe Harold. I don't know if he's going to be the guy that breaks out, but at least he's on the field. We haven't needed anything yet. Our offense is so damn good.
Yeah, and speaking of Miami's offense, like on paper, the easiest place to exploit Georgia Tech is their very soft running defense. And it's bad, Bruce. They're 128th in the country. So they're third worst in the country, dead last among Power 5 teams in stopping the run. I think we'll probably see more of A.J. Allen this week. We still don't exactly know why he didn't play last week, whether it was minor injury or doghouse.
I think it was a discipline problem. That's just my opinion.
Maybe so, but I mean, Shannon Dawson hinted that he should be back in the rotation this week, no matter what the issue was last time around. And so, yeah, you should be able to basically run up the gut, no problem, against Georgia Tech. But I do think Miami will stay balanced, and I hope they stay balanced and complete some big passing plays, because they've got some 5- and 4-star wide receivers who are going to be at the game visiting. I know Jeremiah Smith is not going to want to go down there to watch them run the football 60 times. You got to hit some plays down the field too.
Alex, what would you do if you're Tech's defensive coordinator and they could run the damn ball, and that's the weakness of your team. You
Yeah.
stack that
Pack
box.
the box.
And you got to pick your poison.
Yeah.
Now, he may just say, all right, what the hell with stopping the run, but, we've got enough weapons to run for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I think Miami may take some shots down the field early in this game. And that's what I think is going to, because you can't change your personnel. You're just going to have to change the scheme. So if you change the scheme, you've got to be in there to try to stop the run. That's what I think is going to happen. And let's see what happens. They're going to probably do more shifting. So they show us different looks and maybe back out, but he can't change his personnel.
No.
I think they're undersized to begin with.
Yeah.
So let's see. They're going to make adjustments. You don't think Dawson's going to make adjustments? I think this guy, him and Gidry are incredible. But I'm actually more impressed with Dawson because he's turned that crap offense that they had. Of course, they got more personnel into what I had said, 35, 40 points a game. Only I'm wrong. It's higher than that.
Yeah.
It's like 43, 44.
Yep.
So this year, it's nothing. It's been exciting. But if we can shore up the things that Mario wants to shore up and these guys come back healthy, what are we on Tuesday? I think we're going to beat North Carolina too.
Well, let's go 1 week at a time. Let's all pack the rock.
Let's not do next week's show. I already said they're going to beat North Carolina.
Yeah, we can take next week off, right? Huge stuff. I always love when the truth teller, Bruce Warner, joins us. Bruce, thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your week.
You too, and I'll talk during the week. But I'm excited. I'm excited about the game because of the uniforms, and we're playing an ACC game finally.
Finally.
But I think a week from today it'll be all UNC. That's all we're going to talk about.
I love
all right,
it.
buddy. Have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Everyone, make sure you follow our show on X/Twitter at Locked On Canes. And we will talk to you guys again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.